I woke up at 3 a.m. in a tent in the Boundary Waters of Minnesota to the sound of a zipper. Not my zipper, the tent's. Somebody was unzipping the rainfly from the outside. Slowly, one tooth at a time. The sound was unmistakable. That metallic ripping that a zipper makes when it's pulled at the slowest possible speed by someone who is trying not to wake the people inside. My best friend was asleep next to me. I was on my side facing the door. I watched the zipper pull move downward, inch by inch. I could see it in the faint moonlight that filtered through the nylon. A shadow of a hand on the other side of the fabric, close, inches from my face, separated from me by a layer of material thinner than a bedsheet. The zipper reached the bottom. The rainfly fell open. And through the mesh inner door, I saw a face, a human face, looking in at me, not from a distance, pressed against the mesh, close enough that I could hear them breathing, close enough that if the mesh hadn't been there, our noses would have touched. The face didn't move. The eyes were open, wide, unblinking, looking directly into mine, and the mouth was smiling. Not a friendly smile, a smile that had too many teeth and no warmth behind it. The smile of something that had found what it was looking for. I need to give you the full picture because the isolation is what makes this terrifying. I was 23. My best friend Megan was 24. We were 4 days into a 6-day canoe trip in the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness. If you don't know it, this is over 1 million acres of protected wilderness in northern Minnesota along the Canadian border. No roads, no buildings, no cell service, no people. You paddle in with everything you need and you paddle out. The campsites are designated, but they're spread miles apart. You might hear another group across the lake during the day, but at night you are alone in the most complete sense of the word. The nearest road was 3 days of paddling behind us. The nearest person we knew about was a group of fishermen we had seen that morning, maybe 5 miles south. At 3 a.m. on a Wednesday in July in the Boundary Waters, there was no one within shouting distance, no one within running distance, no one who could help us if something went wrong. Subscribe right now if you haven't. What happened after I saw that face is the most terrifying 4 minutes of my life. Drop a like too. 1 second. I didn't scream. I don't know how I didn't scream. Every nerve in my body was firing. Every muscle was locked, but the sound didn't come. Instead, I did the only thing my frozen brain could produce. I closed my eyes, like a child. Like if I couldn't see it, then it couldn't see me. I lay there with my eyes shut and my heart slamming against my ribs so hard I was sure the person outside could hear it. I listened. The breathing continued. Slow, steady, right against the mesh. Then I heard movement, not away from the tent, around it. Footsteps on pine needles, circling, moving from the door toward the side where Megan was sleeping. Slow, deliberate, stopping at intervals, like they were checking, evaluating or looking at us through the mesh from different angles. I heard them stop at the back of the tent, then the other side, then back at the door, a full circle. Then the footsteps moved away, not quickly. The same slow measured pace, toward the tree line, then silence, then nothing. Just the wind in the pines and the distant sound of water lapping against the shore, and my heartbeat in my ears. I didn't move for 20 minutes. I lay there timing my breathing, forcing it to stay even. Then I opened my eyes. The rainfly was still open. The mesh door showed nothing but the dark outline of trees and the faint silver of a moonlight on the lake. Nobody was there. I reached over and shook Megan. She woke up groggy. I told her what happened. She thought I had a nightmare. I showed her the rainfly, unzipped, from the outside. The zipper pull was on the outside of the fly. We had zipped it from the inside before bed. You can't unzip a rainfly from the inside and leave the pull on the outside. It had been opened by someone standing outside our tent. She went white. We zipped everything shut. We sat up with our backs against each other and our headlamps on and our bear spray in our hands, and we didn't close our eyes until the sun came up. At dawn, I got out and checked the campsite, the fire pit, the bear hang, the canoe pulled up on shore. Everything was where we left it. Nothing was taken. Nothing was moved. But in the soft dirt near the tent door, there were footprints. Bare feet, not boots, not sandals. Bare human feet, large, dat male. The prints circled the tent exactly as I had heard. Door, side, dot, back, other side, door again. A full lap. Then the prints led toward the tree line. I followed them for about 30 feet. They entered the forest and disappeared on the harder ground. I went back to camp. Megan and I had a conversation that lasted about 90 seconds. We decided to leave. We packed camp in 15 minutes. We paddled for 11 hours straight. We didn't stop for lunch. We barely spoke. We made it to the entry point by dark. We loaded the canoe onto the car and drove 2 hours to the nearest town and checked into a motel and locked the door, and I cried in the shower for 10 minutes. Not because I was hurt, because for 4 minutes at 3 a.m. in the middle of a million acres of wilderness, someone had been inches from my face, watching me through a layer of mesh and smiling. And I have no idea who they were, or how they got there, or how long they had been watching before the sound of the zipper woke me up, or how many other tents they had visited that night, or how many they had visited before, and the people inside never woke up and never knew that a face had been pressed against their tent in the dark, wearing a smile that had no kindness in it.
My brother and I were camping in a remote part of the Ozarks when we saw a campfire through the trees about a quarter mile from our site. That would be normal, except for two things. One, we had hiked in on the only trail and hadn't seen another vehicle at the trailhead. And two, the fire was on the other side of a creek that had no bridge and no crossing. Whoever lit that fire hadn't come in the same way we did. They came from deeper in the forest, from a direction where there were no trails and no roads for over 20 miles, and they were watching us. I know they were watching us because when I pointed my flashlight toward the fire, it went out instantly, not smothered, not kicked apart, out, like someone flipped a switch. 1 second there were visible flames, the next second there was nothing, complete darkness, but the smoke kept rising. I could see it against the stars, thin, white, rising from a fire that had been burning strong and was now dead, and something in the dark on the other side of that creek was standing in the smoke, watching my flashlight beam scan the trees, trying to find them. I was 31, my brother Jake was 28. This was October of 2023. We were camping in a part of the Ozark National Forest in Arkansas that we had been going to since we were kids. Our dad used to take us, deep backcountry, no designated sites. You just find a flat spot near water and set up. We knew the area well. We knew the terrain, the ridges, the hollows, the creek systems. We had camped at this particular spot maybe a dozen times. We had never seen another person there. That was the whole appeal. Total isolation, just us and the trees and the fire and the stars. If this story is already making you check behind your chair, drop a comment. I want to know how many of you have seen something in the woods you couldn't explain. We had set up camp around 4 p.m. Standard routine, tent, firing, bear hang. We fished in the creek for a while, caught nothing, cooked dinner, sat by the fire talking. By 10 p.m. the forest was dark and quiet. Typical October night, cold, clear, no wind. The stars were bright enough to see the outline of the ridgeline against the sky. We were about to turn in when Jake pointed through the trees to the southeast and said, "What's that?" I looked. Through the bare branches, I could see a glow, orange, flickering, the unmistakable light of a campfire, about a quarter mile away on the other side of the creek, in a direction that was nothing but forest for as far as the map showed. No trails, no roads, no access, just trees and ridges and hollows that get steeper and denser the further you go. Someone had built a fire in the middle of that, at 10 p.m. on a cold October night, in a place you could only reach by walking for hours through trackless forest in the dark. Jake and I watched the fire for about 5 minutes. We could see the flames through the trees. The fire was substantial. Not a small cooking fire, a bonfire, large enough to cast light on the trunks around it, but we couldn't see anyone near it. No silhouettes, no movement, just the fire burning alone in the woods. I picked up my flashlight, a 1,000 lumen streamlight. I pointed it toward the fire and clicked it on. The beam cut through the trees and lit up the canopy and the creek bank. The instant the light hit the far bank, the fire went out, not dimmed, not smothered, dead, in a fraction of a second, like the flame was a projection and someone had turned off the projector. I swept the beam across the far side of the creek. Trees, brush, darkness, no fire, no coals, no smoke visible in the beam, nothing. But when I clicked the flashlight off, the smoke was there, rising against the stars, a thin white column climbing from the exact spot where the fire had been. Something had extinguished a full bonfire in less than a second, and was standing in the dark behind the smoke, watching my flashlight move through the trees. Jake grabbed his flashlight, and we both scanned the far bank. Nothing, no reflective eyes, no movement, no sound. The creek between us was maybe 30 feet wide and knee-deep in most places, not a significant barrier. Whatever was over there could cross it in 20 seconds. I looked at Jake. He looked at me. We didn't say anything. We didn't need to. We had the same thought. We went to the tent. We zipped it shut. We didn't sleep. We lay in the dark with our flashlights and our knives, and we listened. Around midnight, Jake whispered, "Do you smell that?" I did. Smoke. Wood smoke. The same campfire smoke. Except now it was close. Not a quarter mile close. Like the smoke was drifting from something burning near us. Not at our fire. Our fire had been put out hours ago. I unzipped the tent door and looked outside. Nothing. Our campsite was dark. The fire ring was cold, but the smell was there, strong, and it was getting stronger. Like whoever had been burning that fire on the other side of the creek had moved, had crossed the water, had rebuilt the fire closer, much closer, close enough that we could smell it but not see it, hidden somewhere in the trees around our campsite, burning in the dark without visible light, which is not how fire works. Fire produces light. That's what fire does, unless it was shielded, unless whoever built it had surrounded it with something to block the light on all sides, containing the heat and the smoke, but not the glow, like they wanted us to know they were there, without us being able to see where. We stayed in the tent until dawn. The smoke smell faded around 4 a.m. When the sun came up, we packed camp in silence. Neither of us wanted to be the one to say let's get out of here, because saying it would mean admitting how scared we were. So we just packed, efficiently, quickly, the way soldiers pack, the way people pack when the ground they're standing on has stopped feeling safe. Before we left, I told Jake I wanted to check the perimeter. He said don't. I said I had to. He didn't argue. He just picked up his knife and came with me. We walked the perimeter of our site together, shoulder to shoulder, flashlights off because the sun was up, but knives in hand because the sun being up didn't mean we were alone. In the soft ground near the creek bank, about 40 feet from our tent, there were marks, not footprints, drag marks, like someone had dragged something heavy from the creek bank toward the trees. A log maybe, a large branch, something you'd use to build a fire. The marks were deep, gouged into the mud. Whatever was dragged was heavy, and whoever dragged it was strong. The drag marks led into the forest for about 20 feet and then stopped at a flat area between two large oaks. The ground there was blackened, soot, ash, charred earth, a circle of burned ground about 4 feet in diameter. Someone had built a fire 40 feet from our tent in the middle of the night, close enough to smell, but invisible from where we were sleeping. They had crossed the creek in the dark. They had dragged wood from the bank. They had built the fire behind the oaks to shield the light. They had burned it for hours while we lay in our tent, listening to the silence and smelling the smoke and wondering where it was coming from. And they had let it die before dawn, before we could see, before we could find them. Jake crouched down and touched the ash, still warm. He pulled his hand back and wiped it on his jeans. He looked at me and said, "We need to go right now." We went. We packed the last of our gear and hiked out fast. And when we crossed the creek at the ford, about a mile downstream, I looked back toward the ridge where our campsite was, and I saw smoke, thin, white, rising from the trees. In the exact spot where we had camped, someone had relit the fire in our fire ring, using our leftover wood, minutes after we left. They had been watching us pack. They had been waiting for us to leave. And the moment we did, they moved in. Like they were claiming the space, like it had always been theirs, and we had been guests who had overstayed, and they were patient enough to wait us out. Jake saw the smoke too. Neither of us said a word. We just kept walking.
Something walked in a perfect circle around our campsite for 7 hours, from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., without stopping. The same pace, the same distance from the tents, the same rhythm of footsteps on leaves and pine needles. One continuous loop for 7 hours. We were 4 friends on a camping trip in the Pisgah National Forest in North Carolina, and none of us slept because something was circling us in the dark like a shark circles a boat. Except sharks eventually leave. This didn't. It circled and circled and circled for 7 straight hours, and then at 5 a.m., when the first gray light appeared in the east, it stopped. Not gradually, instantly. Mid-step, the last footfall landed and the next one never came. Like an alarm went off that only it could hear. Like daylight was a boundary it couldn't cross. And then the forest went quiet and the birds started singing and the sun came up and we were sitting in our tents, hollow-eyed and shaking. And the thing that had been walking around us all night was gone, without a trace, without a print, without a single broken twig to prove it had been there at all. I was 26. This was late September of 2024, me and 3 friends from college, Matt.Aaron.Devlin. We drove up from Charlotte on a Friday afternoon. We had a backcountry site about 5 miles in. We set up camp around 4, standard stuff. 2 tents, fire ring, bear hang. We hiked around for a while, cooked dinner, drank some beers. By 9, it was dark and we were sitting around the fire talking about nothing. By 10, we were in our tents, Matt and Aaron in one, Devlin and me in the other. Phew. I was almost asleep when I heard the first footstep, a single crunch of dry leaves, maybe 30 feet from our tent to the right. I opened my eyes, listened, another crunch, same distance, but slightly further to the right, then another, and another, spaced about 2 seconds apart, moving clockwise around the campsite. Steady, even, not the erratic pattern of a deer or a bear, the consistent measured pace of something walking a predetermined route, like a guard on patrol, like something that had done this before and knew exactly how far from the tents to stay and exactly how fast to move. I nudged Devlin. He was already awake. He whispered, "I hear it." We lay there and listened. The footsteps continued, around and around. When they passed behind our tent, I could hear the breathing, heavy, not labored, deep. The breathing of something with large lungs. The footsteps were heavy too. Not human, heavy, heavier, like whatever was making them weighed significantly more than a person. But the stride was bipedal. 2 feet, left, right, not 4 legs. 2. Something walking on 2 legs in a circle around our camp at a weight that exceeded what a human body should produce. I heard Matt's tent zipper. He was awake too. He whispered across the gap between our tents. "Do you hear that?" I whispered, "Yeah." Yeah. He said, "What is it?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Should we look?" I said, "No." I don't know why I said no. I just knew with a certainty I can't explain that looking was wrong, that whatever was circling us existed in a contract. It would stay at its distance if we stayed in our tents. It would walk its circle, and we would lie in our sleeping bags and nobody would cross the boundary. Looking would break the contract. Looking would change the rules. And I did not want to find out what the new rules were. The circling continued, hour after hour. I tracked it by sound. The footsteps never varied. Same pace, same distance, same clockwise direction. It never stopped to investigate, never moved closer, never moved further. It maintained a radius of about 30 feet from the center of our camp with mechanical precision. At one point, around 2 a.m., Devlin whispered, "It's been 4 hours." He said that with a voice that had gone flat, not scared anymore, past scared. In the territory beyond fear where your body has accepted the situation and your mind is just documenting. 4 hours, then 5, then 6. The footsteps continued. The breathing continued, around and around. I started counting laps. Based on the time it took for the sound to make a full circle, I estimated each lap took about 3 minutes. That's 20 laps per hour, 7 hours, 140 laps. Something walked 140 circles around our tents in the dark, without pausing, without resting, without deviating by a single foot. That's not animal behavior. That's not human behavior. That's something else entirely. At 5:02 a.m., the footsteps stopped. I know the exact time because I was watching my phone. Nah, enough. The last footfall landed on the east side of the circle. The next one never came. Silence. Immediate. Total. Not even a fade. Just sound and then no sound, like someone had pulled a plug. For about 3 minutes, the forest was completely silent. Then a bird sang, a single note. Then another bird. Then the insects. Then the wind. The forest came back to life the same way it does every morning. Sound by sound, layer by layer, like the world was being reassembled. By 5:30, there was enough light to see. I unzipped the tent. I looked outside. The campsite was undisturbed. The fire ring, the bear, hang, the other tent. Everything exactly as we had left it. I walked the circle. The route it had taken, 30 feet from center, all the way around. The ground was covered in dry leaves and pine needles. There were no prints, no compressed patches, no broken twigs, no disturbance of any kind. Something that weighed more than a person had walked 140 laps on this ground over 7 hours and left no trace. None. The forest floor looked like nothing had touched it. We packed up in 20 minutes. We hiked out in near silence. 5 miles of trail, and nobody said more than 10 words. When we got to the parking lot, Devlin finally spoke. He said 140 laps. That's all he said. We drove home. We haven't been camping since. The 4 of us don't talk about it, not because we agreed not to, because there's nothing to say. Something circled us for 7 hours and we don't know what it was, and we'll never know, because it left nothing behind. No evidence, no answers. Just the memory of footsteps in the dark going around and around and around, and the knowledge that at 5:02 a.m. it stopped. Not because it was done, because the sun was coming, and the sun meant the rules changed. And whatever walks circles around campsites in the dark doesn't walk in the light. It waits somewhere in those trees, patient, still, counting the hours until the sun goes down and the tents go up and the fires go out and the humans lie still, and the circling can begin again. Those were 3 true camping horror stories from people who discovered that the wilderness at night belongs to something other than us. If you made it to the end, tell me, which one is going to ruin camping for you? Drop it in the comments. If you've had a camping experience that you still can't explain, leave your story below. The most disturbing ones get featured in future videos. Subscribe if you haven't. New stories every week. Share this with anyone planning a camping trip, and the next time you zip your tent shut at night and lie down in the dark and listen to the forest around you, remember this: the zipper is not a lock. The nylon is not a wall, and whatever is outside can hear you breathing just as clearly as you can hear it.